On Daybreak, the NHS pays out hundreds of millions of pounds in compensation and legal bills each year.
There are concerns that money being used to pay lawyers could be better spent on frontline services, and the issue will be debated in the Lords today. Dr. Hillary has a special investigation into whether the NHS is at risk from costly compensation claims.
We're sitting there, the three of us, we're a family. We've got our own little unit, you know, our hopes, our dreams, our future. It's awesome.
Merlin and Lauren Gard with their newborn baby Charlie. 4 hours after this picture was taken, Lauren was dead from a rare condition called HELLP syndrome. Seeking answers, Merlin took legal action against the hospital who, after 5 years, admitted breach of duty but not liability and settled out of court paying damages of £150,000.
We didn't take the litigation lightly. We knew it would be a long, arduous and upsetting task.
I went to see Merlin's solicitors.
I think the terrible tragedy of cases like this is that people go back to the NHS for some kind of explanation, and they're talking to the very people who've damaged them. And instead of an attitude of, let's explain it, let's investigate it, let's apologise, the attitude is, let's deny it, let's defend it. And then how are they supposed to cope? There is a myth that there's a compensation culture. What there has been is more of awareness of lawyers, because lawyers are allowed to advertise.
Brown and proven, muscle, challenge, result, and a no-fee guarantee.
It was a trend that started in America and was introduced here to cut the money spent on legal aid, and has led to the emergence of claims management companies with a simple slogan, no win, no fee.
100% compensation.
Potential future compensation payouts and legal fees could top £15 billion. That's equivalent to 1/7 of the health service's annual budget. Over £700 million in compensation was paid out in England last year. A third of that went on legal fees.
We had a claim where the claimant was awarded £2,000 in compensation. His lawyers put in a bill for over £230,000. Now, I think quite rightly we challenged that, and those costs were disallowed.
The Lord Chancellor shares my concerns and, in an exclusive interview, invited me to Parliament to outline how he plans to overhaul the system with a new legal aid bill.
I think most cases against doctors should be taken on a no-win, no-fee basis, but with proper control over the level of costs. Compensate people who are the victims of errors, quite right, promptly, properly. Don't give so much money to speculative claims. Makes the health service short of money, makes doctors unbelievably cautious.
Despite our best efforts, medicine can never be perfect, and I accept lawyers can be necessary. But perhaps better communication, honest answers, and more often a simple sorry is all that's needed before lawyers wade in.
It was never about money. It was what went wrong. Why have we lost our Lauren? You know, and she was our Lauren. You know, the whole family's Lauren. She was our little gem.
Well, Dr. Hillary joins us now. So did your conversations and investigations change your view of the legal profession and how it works with the NHS?
Well, it confirmed what I thought. I mean, two things are happening. Firstly, there are huge legal costs involved in compensation claims, which can sometimes be reasonable, but the legal costs are disproportionately high. I think the other thing is that it's true that the NHS is quite bad at putting their hands up sometimes and saying, we're sorry this has happened, let's explain, let's open our files, our records to you so you can look at this. And of course, the more claims there are, the more nervous the NHS becomes in defending themselves. And what I would just like to see is that some of this £15 billion that's been set aside for the future to compensate victims of clinical negligence, some of that money is put towards resources, so we have more doctors and nurses who are not making these procedural mistakes in the first place. You know, but we do practice defensive medicine now because we're so scared of lawyers waiting in the wings to sue us that we're saying, well, we'll do every investigation under the sun, even though it's not really clinically necessary, just to make sure we've done it all. So lots of things have to change, and I'm very pleased to see the Minister of Justice saying, Kenneth Clarke saying, let's have a no-win, no-fee situation, but let's control the costs so they're not disproportionately high.
And we'll be joined by someone who works with him a little bit later on as well. So we're looking forward to talking more about it. What do you want to say in particular to
Well, how do we... I think the question is, how can we stop 1/7 of the equivalent, the 1/7 of the NHS budget going to line the pockets of lawyers, effectively, you know, who are doing a good job? I mean, you need those lawyers to defend cases like Merlin. It was a very, very just case, and 150,000 is no compensation for the loss of his wife. We certainly need lawyers, but we need to cap the costs and protect the NHS from the amount of money that's being spent on litigation. Give the resources back to the NHS so we can do a decent job. I actually say that it's impossible for a doctor in 7.5 minutes in general practice to see a patient in a consultation and do the job 100% perfectly, because there's not time. You have to take shortcuts, you have to cut corners, and we're constantly exposed. So we need help in the NHS, and we also need to curb lawyers' fees. Okay.
Sounds very sensible. We're going to look at all sides of this, aren't we, though, throughout the morning. Hilary, thanks very much.
Justice Minister Jonathan